You know, we have complained for too long. We are not going to complain anymore. We must ask ourselves, and what is the state of our continent? What is the state of Pan-Africanism? In this land, where one of the greatest crimes ever committed by man was unleashed. The African was subjected to slavery. Our kith and kin were taken away into different parts of the world. They were taken away to Europe. They built Europe. They were taken away to the United States of America. They built the United States of America. They were taken away to the Caribbean. They built the Caribbean. Then after slavery had lost its lust and attraction, they pretended to ban slavery, but it came again in a different form.
Why so many of African countries want to leave the UN? Why Africans are not able to trust the UN? What is the role of the UN in Africa continent that made Africans to not trust them anymore? What is motivating for African leaders to ask for their withdrawal in the UN peacekeeping? What is the role of peacekeeping? Democratic Republic of Congo just asked for the UN to withdraw their troops in the east of DRC. And one of the reasons why they had to ask this peacekeeping to leave DRC is because they say it had failed to keep the civilians. But what is the alternative and how the rebellions don't have to benefit from all this? In this video, we're going to discuss with you the real reason why Africans don't trust the UN anymore. The United Nations, it has been existing for more than 60 years. At that time, it had helped a lot of countries from conflict to a successful peace around the world. But that seems to be not the case anymore, because African countries, they are now waking up, calling for the UN to withdraw their troops in their countries. They don't want to have anything to do with the UN. And one of them, that would be the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, where the president of this country, in his address in the UN Assembly, he had asked for the United Nations to withdraw their troops in his country. Before we get to discuss more about what this man had said, I'm inviting you first to have listened to this report.
Part of their mandate is to protect civilians from armed groups. But now the Congolese president says they've failed in their mission and wants them gone.
Il est à déplorer.
It is to be deplored that the peacekeeping missions deployed for 25 years in the Democratic Republic of Congo have failed to cope with the rebellions and armed conflicts which are tearing apart the region, nor to protect the civilian population.
Many civilians in DRC feel the same way. Earlier this month, protesters demanded the peacekeepers go. They accused the UN of doing little to protect them. The Congolese army cleared the demonstrations. 43 people were killed. UN peacekeepers have also worn out their welcome elsewhere. They left Sudan's Darfur region in 2021 at the urging of the government. And Mali has become one of the latest countries to demand that they pull out. The UN has admitted to shortcomings, but says without peacekeepers, things will be much worse.
Growing divisions among member states, combined with the increased complexity of today's conflicts, poses a formidable challenge to peacekeeping and the broader task of maintaining peace and security. I encourage you to consider the alternative and to imagine how these situations would evolve if peacekeepers were not present to undertake these daily efforts.
In many places, mercenaries are filling the void, including those from Russia's Wagner Group. And as criticism of UN peacekeeping grows, critics say reforms are needed in order to overcome this crisis of confidence.
So, the DRC President Felix Tshisekedi asked the UN to accelerate their discussions on how they are going to withdraw their troops in their DRC that was planned for 2024 to December 2023, which normally supposed to take place in December 2024, but the President of DRC asked for this discussion to have place in December 2023. How possible is that? Well, again here, according to my understanding, I don't see what different it will bring if they have to respect this process, or either if they have to do it in a couple of months, because these people, they were there for so many years, and we're talking about more than 25 years that this UN peacekeeping soldiers, they've been in the DRC, yet nothing good have never come from them. Many people are killed under their nose and they are not doing nothing. According to many reports that we have in our possession, there is even some places where the rebellions get to kill the civilians who are sitting next to the UN camp, and nothing is happening. Sometimes these rebellions, they can come even in front of them and commit all these kind of massacres, and yet they are not doing anything to defend people of DRC. Now you might even ask yourself a question to know, what were they doing all these years? Because we're talking about 25 years. In 25 years, if you would have had a child, I believe that child will have been a man or a woman to bear you grandchildren. But what was this UN peacekeeping soldiers they were doing in the DRC? Well, these UN troops, they were there and they were involved in a lot of crimes and activities that they are doing in that part of DRC. These UN troops, they have become businessmen over there. They are the ones who are now selling the DRC minerals. They are military vehicles that are supposed to be carrying guns to go and help people of DRC, or perhaps food to help those who are being victims from this conflict that is going on in the DRC. These military vehicles, they are now exporting the Congolese minerals and bring it somewhere outside in order for them to sell it. That is the kind of the troops that the UN had sent to the DRC. These troops were caught many times by the Congolese people with clear evidence, and yet nothing did happen. None of these soldiers was punished, not even a simple apology of what these people they've been doing. And you all know that an army without discipline, it is an army that will come with a lot of violence. Because an army without discipline will give the right to all the soldiers for them to behave in the way that pleases them. And that's what was happening with these UN troops in the DRC. The UN organizations that's supposed to be assuring the peace in the DRC, these troops, they are now involved in Congolese activities. Some of them, they are even impregnating Congolese women, not to marry them, but just to pregnant them and disappear. Many soldiers of the UN were hand-coated with the Congolese minerals, the Congolese blood minerals, which they were busy trying to cross the border in order for them to go and sell it somewhere in Europe. So, with all this nonsense that's been going on, the Congolese people, they were like, no, wait a minute. Why should we continue having this kind of people? They've been here for more than 2 decades, and yet we are not seeing any change. We still have war in the east of DRC. Many people are dying each and every day. They are here stealing our minerals. They are now businessmen. They are now leaving their children here. Children that they don't even want to assume their responsibility as fathers. Congolese people, they end up understanding that we don't need to have this kind of people. And then they start putting pressure on their government to get rid of these people.
Demonstrators attacked UN bases in at least 4 cities in the provinces of North and South Kivu. They say UN troops have failed to protect them from armed groups, including M23. Some protesters say peacekeepers opened fire on them. The UN denies this and has accused protesters of snatching weapons from Congolese police. And the UN's Children Agency says kids have been manipulated into joining the unrest.
Congo is our heritage. Congo is for the Congolese. Ever since MONUSCO came here, they have done nothing. Nothing. People have their throats slit every day. And while we are meant to have a UN mission to keep people safe, the population is being massacred. They are being killed like sheep in the presence of that MONUSCO there.
When they go home, we're going to take care of things ourselves. They say they don't have the means to combat the M23 rebels, so we are going to defend ourselves on our own. If they don't leave today, we are going to keep demonstrating until they do.
The Congolese people did not start asking for the UN troops to leave their country today. These people start asking for these UN troops to leave their countries long time ago. But the President Tshisekedi did not want this to take place because he was just arriving in power. So he needs to give these UN troops a benefit of doubt just to see whether what all these allegations that are being imposed or accused against them, was it real or false. But now that he did experience it through his mandate, the men end up understanding that his people, they were right, and that is the reason why he had this courage at least to stand in front of the world and tell the UN to withdraw from the Congo activities. And this is something that it's been going lately in Africa, almost everywhere. Everyone, they don't want to have this peacekeeping anymore. When the Congolese president was asking the UN to withdraw their troops in his country, he spoke in the way of making the world understand that this is not all about DRC, but this is all about Africa continent, because the nonsense that the UN they've been doing in the east of DRC, it is something that has been going on almost everywhere in Africa continent. A lot of African countries, they are victims of the same thing. This so-called peacekeeping that's supposed to be coming in Africa to help Africans, they are there actually to loot Africa, helping the West to succeed with their missions. And the president of DRC gave the example of some of the African countries which have been the victims from all this looting that we get to see with the UN. So he had to remind them of what has been also happening in these countries, as he get to say here.
This is the case, notably, of the forgotten crisis of Western Sahara, which has riven apart two kindred countries, Algeria and the Kingdom of Morocco, and that crisis has dragged on for several decades. This is also the case when it comes to Mozambique, which has fallen victim to deadly terrorist attacks for roughly 1 decade in the province of Cabo Delgado. This is also the situation in West Africa, in the Sahel-Sahara region. There, the UN troops are withdrawing, leaving behind them the memory of what they haven't achieved. This despite the fact that they embodied all of the hopes of people that were caught in the clutches of jihadism. The Republic of Sudan is no exception either. Sudan is mired in a deadly civil war, which has pitted since last year the military personnel loyal to the president of the republic, pitted them against the rapid support forces under the command of General Mohammed Hamdai Dagalo. This war has already caused much death and much material damage as well. The international community is virtually indifferent to the Sudanese tragedy. This is also the place to broach a question of paramount importance to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also of prime importance for building peace in the Great Lakes region. I'm referring to the withdrawal of the United Nations Mission for Stabilization in the Democratic Republic of Congo, MONUSCO, the withdrawal of MONUSCO from our territory. Following a presence of more than 2 decades by the UN, it's time for my country to fully take its destiny in hand and to become the main protagonist of its own stability. Furthermore, the accelerated withdrawal of MONUSCO is absolutely necessary to ease the tensions between MONUSCO and our citizens.
Now here, we need to understand this in a very simple way. What this man was trying to say here is not only to let the UN that the DRC want their troops to be withdrawn from their countries. Instead, he's calling for all these countries that he mentions, all these countries that's been victim from the UN with their alliances such as the West and the Europeans, asking these countries that, guys, DRC is doing their part, you must do also your part, because there is no need for us to continue having this kind of people to come be there in our countries, like they're spying on us and studying our system and seeing what we are up to, and at the same time they're busy getting an easy way to loot Africa. So this man had to remind all these African countries that we are in the revolution time and we need to take this opportunity to get rid of all these people. He kind of like reminding them that you don't need to remain behind. You need to stand up as men and women and fight for your true liberation. But is it a good idea for Africans to start asking the UN to withdraw their troops in their countries? Oh yes, it is normal for Africans actually to ask all the world organizations such as the UN, the West, NATO, France, USA, British, all these people to get out of their countries, to get out of Africa continent, because they have the right reasons that motivate them to let go of this kind of so-called partners or people that don't even want to see you doing good in your life. The real reason why Africans are not trusting this UN, because UN is full of hypocrisy. They'll say one thing and do others. They'll promise one thing and never fulfill it. They'll come pretending saying that they're here to help you to seek peace, and yet they're the one who will even make things worse in your country. They can come and say that we're here to help you grow your democracy, but yet they are the one who are coming to help dictators last forever in their countries during their mandates without even respecting their mandates. And all these things can happen under their nose, under their watch, and they are not going to say anything. So these things are the good reasons that motivate Africans to not even trust anything that comes from the UN. Did you guys heard what President William Ruto from Kenya said about these matters? President Ruto told them that
we as Africa have come to the world not to ask for alms, charity, or handouts, but to work with the rest of the global community to give every human being in this world a decent chance of security and prosperity by taking necessary actions, mobilizing adequate resources for investment, confronting security challenges, and resolving conflict as we all make our contribution to global prosperity. As a nation which was forced to wage a painful struggle for our own independence and sovereignty, Kenya empathizes very deeply with the humiliation of our proud people in Haiti and the price they have had to pay for their hunger for liberty and the sorrow they have endured for their thirst for freedom. Haiti is the ultimate test of international solidarity and collective action. The international community has failed this test so far and thus let down a people very, very badly. Haiti deserves better from the world. The cry of our brothers and sisters who were the first people to win their struggle for freedom from colonial tyranny has reached our ears and touched our hearts. Doing nothing in the face of the historic isolation, neglect, and betrayal of the people of Haiti is out of question. Inaction is no longer an option. As we mobilize to show up for Ukraine, we must not leave Haiti behind. Africa's potential is defined by abundant and diverse resources, ranging from a youthful, highly skilled, and motivated young population, immense renewable energy potential, and mineral resources, including critical minerals, and extensive natural capital endowment, including 60% of the world's unutilized arable land. Capital and technology can find no better returns anywhere than the tremendous investment opportunity in Africa's potential.
This man gave this speech without reading anyway. That simply means to say that these words, they were coming in his heart. These words he really mean each and every word actually said on this day. And looking at him, the man was not even afraid. He was not shy of anyone. He had to speak his mind in behalf of Africans. Was he the only one who had to talk such a beautiful word about Africa? No. We still have the president of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, who was even more harsh toward the West when he said these words.
The global community needs to work alongside the African Union to support peace efforts in the DRC, in Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Mali, Central African Republic, South Sudan, North Mozambique, the Great Lakes region, the Sahel, Niger, and the Horn of Africa. The African Union Peace and Security Council has declared that it stands ready to silence the guns on the African continent and to achieve peace and stability and development. We are told that the 20 climate hotspots in the world that we have, we find 17 of them in Africa. Africa is least responsible for the climate damage that has been caused, and yet it bears the greatest burden. Centuries after the end of the slave trade, decades after the end of the colonial exploitation of Africa's resources, the people of our continent are once again bearing the cost of industrialization of the North and the development of the wealthy nations of the world. This is a price that the people of Africa are no longer prepared to pay. Many countries in the North count their assets in the mineral resources that are beneath the African soil. The wealth of Africa belongs to Africans. The mineral wealth that is beneath the soil of Africa must, in the end, accrue to Africans.
Beside President Ramaphosa, there was someone else. And this time we're talking about the transition president of Chad. This young man makes serious revelations in this UN assembly. The man was very harsh. He spoke his mind as a soldier and not as a politician. He had to tell the assembly that I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to have a language such as the one of politicians. Because politicians always pretend. Even they say something's bad, but they'll prefer to act like everything's look normal to their eyes. And this is what it had destroyed Africa. Because of this kind of behaviors from this kind of politicians, Africa failed to get it through freedom. I'm gonna give you time, have listened to this young man's speech. How powerful was it?
The era of the old Africa is over. Today, the African people are more awake than ever and more than ever determined to take their destiny into their own hands. The African people are tired, exhausted by the categorizations with which everyone wants to box us in. Placing us under the influence of this or that power is an insult. It is contempt and racism towards a continent of more than 1,300,000,000 people. The time has come. This is the end of an unbalanced and unjust era where we had no say in the matter. It is time to take our rights into account and to let us take our proper place, but also, and above all, it is time to stop lecturing us and to stop treating us with condescension like children. Rest assured that we're old enough to know what is good for us. We are mature enough to define our priorities, to design our own models which are in line with our identity.
Guys, listen. Whenever I think of what Africa we've been through and get to listen to this kind of speech, I feel my blood is boiling. I feel that this is the kind of energy we need to have as Africans. Because if one African can do this in the west of Africa, another one come up with this kind of the speech in the Central Africa, another one come from the west, another one come from the north, another one come from the south of Africa continent, having this kind of conversation, telling all this open eye must that guys, you are doing wrong things to Africans, and therefore Africans, we want to assume our own responsibility. Africa is not going to be the same anymore, because this is what Africa is supposed to be doing long time ago, but unfortunately we never had a chance to do so. Now that this new generation, it is here, they are now trying to do things in a different way, and that's why you see things now that are turning around, and some people that are becoming so desperate. As I always say, desperate people does the desperate things, and that is how you see even America, France, they don't want to leave Africa because they are losing control of Africa. Africans, they have understood that it is about time we start doing things in a different ways. It is about time we stand on our feet and fight like real men. So another reason why African leaders, they are deciding to start withdrawing from all these activities, it is because they don't want to trust any of the world organizations. Instead, Africans want to trust among themselves. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Look at what is happening, for an example, between Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad. They chased France out of their countries. Guess what they did? They did not even go and seek help from any other nations around the world. Instead, they prefer to trust among themselves. Not long ago, Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, Niger, they signed, should I say a contract? Nope, but a deal whereby they want to military cooperate in their countries. Which means if you try, whether you are a rebellion, whether you are whatever they call it over there, if you try to attack one government, these other countries will come to the rescue of that government. In other words, they are kind of like our small or African NATO countries. If you attack one country, another one is going to come. Besides these countries that I just mentioned, what about in the east of DRC? Now that President Tshisekedi decided to ask the UN to withdraw their troops over there, do you think that DRC will just remain like that? Nope. They are having what they call regional troops, which they have already started their mission in the east of DRC. And these troops, they are all Africans. They come from Kenya, they come from Uganda, they come from Tanzania, they come from South Africa. They come, by the way, South Africa, they are coming in behalf of SADC, because DRC is part of the SADC. So you will see that Africans, they are now trusting among themselves. Africans, they don't want to seek any help that comes from the Europeans, from America with their alliance. They don't want any help that will come from the United Nations, because they have understood that all these years we've been seeking help from these people. They're not here actually to help us, but they are here in the mission to loot Africa. They are here to motivate and keep dictators in powers, so that they'll keep on continue to benefit from the African mineral resource. So these African countries who are doing all this, they are doing it only with one reason: because African people don't trust these organizations. Because Africans, they don't trust the UN anymore after all these years. Africans, they don't trust France, they don't trust America, they don't trust British, because these are actually the countries which are hiding behind this so-called UN and other world organizations. So it is about time Africans, they get to start trusting among themselves and start rebuilding this beautiful motherland called Africa. Africans, they want their true liberation, so that they'll get to develop this continent that many people, they have died for. So France with the West, they can try to resist in Africa and try to impose their leadership, but that time it is over because no one is paying attention to them anymore. You can see it's not like we're making a story here, but we are talking the fact, and you guys, you have seen it already all over the Africa continent, and everyone that talking about it. So there is no any other African country at the moment which will just sit and relax and let themselves be misled or be mistreated bad by these West countries. Instead, all Africans now, they are standing up and saying that it is over, and that is how things are supposed to be. Guys, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. We really do appreciate it. It was very important that we get to sit down with you and talk about these matters and try to give you also our point of view through our analysis, as we always do time to time. If you do find anything important that you would like to take with you in this video, and you want to find out more about us in the next video that we'll be uploading, or please, we just want to ask you to make sure that you hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss any of our videos. But above all, give us your thumbs up so that we can get also more audience out there who need to understand exactly what is our message and what we do in this channel. That will be all for today. For now, continue to be yourself, be good, be kind. Have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon. Ciao, ciao.